Every founder and CEO should spend a year selling their own product. Literally going out, doing cold calls, doing cold emails to be able to see just how complicated it is for a business to really scale. With that kind of reality check, companies that have practiced that will be able to go the distance and stand the test of time.
Are you content in your business? I'm Si McMahon, and I'm on a mission to help business leaders and brand owners succeed through sharing stories, advice, and inspiration. This is the Content in Business Podcast. Hey everyone, quick message. Something that comes up time and time again in my interviews with people is how important but how difficult marketing is. So we've created a scorecard that evaluates your digital marketing, gives you a unique score, and provides advice on how you can improve. You can get it today. It's completely free, and it's at playfairmarketing.com/marketing score. We'll link to it in the episode notes as well. Now, on with the show. Welcome to Content in Business. In this episode, I talked to William Gilchrist, who's the founder and CEO of Konsyg. Konsyg are a global provider of outsourced sales and service for B2B tech companies mainly. And this is a great conversation. I really enjoyed it because he talks about something that's really important, and that's being connected and being fully aware and understanding of your audience and of your clients. As a business leader, so many of us get wrapped up in our own hype, in our own world. We feel passionate about certain aspects of what we do. And sometimes that might actually not align with what the customer thinks is valuable and thinks is important about what your product or service offers. It's a really interesting conversation. There's some really good tips in there, actionable tips about getting on the ground, speaking to people directly, getting involved in sales yourself, certainly in the early phases of your business. So enjoy this conversation with William Gilchrist. William, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me. This is great.
Well, introduce yourself and give us a bit of an overview of your journey so far and how it's been.
Excellent. Well, first off, I really want to say thank you so much for having our company colors in the background. It's like your light ambiance is about the same as mine. So
we're on brand. We're on brand.
Yeah, on brand today. My name is William Gilchrist. I'm the founder and CEO of Konsyg. We're an outsourced sales and service company. More commonly known as a sales mercenary group. So we take on people's sales targets globally and then try to hit them for them and generate revenue primarily is our main goal.
And so how does that work exactly? Is that through online efforts? Is there various different ways that you generate leads or have conversations?
Well, it really, not every tool kind of fits for every scenario. Primarily, we're doing the outreach kind of mediums that are the most common or that's humanly possible, whether that be through outbound calling, outbound emailing, LinkedIn outreach. At the same time, we do face-to-face. We pretty much represent our clients. We're a white labeled organization. So everything that we're doing under our client's brand. And we're the ones that are having the sales conversations and the sales outreach that you need to have. So we're like a floating sales department.
I've always been interested in that kind of service in terms of, as a business, we do marketing for our clients. And obviously there's a level of understanding and integration that we have to have with those clients. I can imagine if you're actually having conversations, asking and answering questions, and imagine there's a lot of, there's an intense kind of getting up to speed process from your side to really understand your client and be able to, like you say, fully represent them on the phone or through direct messages or something.
No, absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of different, very unique technologies, some large enterprise technologies, startups. One of the first common things that we always get, and it's like number one on our FAQ, is that our product is so incredibly complicated. There's no way anybody can figure it out. And oh, we need a specialist and only our people internally can sell this thing and all of that. That's one of the most common bits of feedback right in the beginning until they kind of work with us. And the reality is, I think that a lot of companies also need to realize is that the technicalities and the nuances of your product or service, right, has somewhat to do with a sales conversation. But really, it's your value proposition is the real kind of point that a salesperson needs to know. They need to know what your value is, what problems are you solving, and then be able to go out there and find people with those problems and then connect the two. So oftentimes how we learn products, we have a full team that does business intelligence and analyzing the companies, but particularly their value proposition. And then from there, we try to match it with whatever pain points we think that they're solving and who would care about those particular pain points in organizations. And then we do our outreach based on that while we're also learning more and more about the technicalities about the product. So the longer you're with us, the more nuances, of course, you're going to learn. But at least we're getting people right out the gate with a value proposition conversation that's matching to relevant pain points to be able to get some deals on the calendar as soon as possible.
Yeah, I was talking to a business coach the other day, and they were saying that that's one of the first things that people say to them as well. Is they'll say, well, yeah, your usual kind of coaching advice isn't going to work for us because we're a bit different. And he's like, everybody says that. Everybody thinks that you're unique. But ultimately, yeah, you're right. If we're a decent business, we are trying to give value to our client in exchange for a reasonable fee or that's what we're all kind of trying to do. Every business that's got the level of integrity.
Yep. No, of course. And, it's very common that people want to get into super technical conversations early on in a sales conversation, which actually is a common mistake. And I know why, because if people are passionate about their brand, passionate about their product or technology, they're believing that the world also has or will share the same passion. And the reality is they probably don't. They could build to that, right? If you're solving a pain point or if you're showcasing, a track record of other people who had similar pain points. But, ultimately getting too deep into the weeds with what it does in terms of the technicalities of it, and not what it's doing and what it's bringing for people. It's a very common mix-up that people do, and thinking that it has something to do with the sales process when it doesn't.
And so, what's the journey been like so far for Konsyg?
Well, I was in Google for 5 years. I left Google, went into the startup space, sales guy, career salesperson, outbound seller. So definitely hunter roles, quarters, targets, and all that. When I was leaving Google, I was mainly tasked to try to help build up sales teams. And try to not only train them, but also at the same time come up with strategies in order to allow a product, particularly like a startup product, to be able to engage certain markets, like a go-to-market strategy, but also at the same time carry pretty aggressive targets. And I realized that this is a common problem amongst enterprises and startups, is that they don't really have a go-to-market strategy. It's not really there. They're relying heavily on third-party blogs and material to tell them how to go to market, but nothing is really telling them how they should go to market or how the product or the market is going to respond to them, right? So that kind of inspired me to start this kind of sales mercenary group, right? Which is like, okay, well, I see these companies, large and small, are struggling with this. What if I had a team which is specialized in go-to-market and revenue generation, right? And telling people exactly the good, bad, and the ugly of how their product's going to perform. So as we were founded in Singapore, going on 8 years ago, we started taking on contracts in cybersecurity, space tech, mark tech, health tech, etc. And we started to pretty much go global for them and be able to open new markets and also help them, put some dollars in the bank in their local markets as well that they weren't getting. And that has definitely worked out really well for us, particularly in the first few years. And then when COVID hit, everybody was suddenly extremely excited about outsourcing. So we actually increased in size during the COVID times because people started recognizing, oh my God, we need remote service. We need people out there being able to still generate revenue for us when we're unable to do so, or, we're heavily reliant on, kind of like certain individuals to like renew accounts and things like that. So we were definitely on a wave where individuals are a little bit more comfortable with remote work now and outsourcing now than they ever were in 2018, 2019, right? So that journey's been pretty good. And as of now, we've definitely refined and, retuned a bunch of stuff. I mean, I think every month we're a better and different company than we were the month before, right? So it's really interesting to watch us grow and to kind of see the new kind of cool projects that we get to be on.
And you've been in business for 8 years. My mission is about helping businesses get past that 5-year mark and thrive. What is it that you think has really helped you get to this point? I know you've talked about COVID, and I think there's a mix of coincidental fortune and also being in the right, doing the right kind of business in terms of stability and ability to adjust and move with the times. But is there other things that you think have been defining for Konsyg to get to the point it is today?
There's one fundamental thing that not only do I advise my clients, I also have practiced, and I've also observed companies that don't have this particular quality. Every founder and CEO should spend a year selling their own product, like directly selling it, not hiring somebody, not trying to market it away through ads, not using your own personal networks, not trying to get a referral program, literally going out, doing cold calls, doing cold emails, and actually spend a year trying to sell your product. That'll tell you a lot, and that'll bring a lot of things into perspective on how the market responds, how the market cares, how you're able to navigate some deals. And I'm pretty sure that if more founders and CEOs did this in their first year, they will get some business, but they're not going to get the business that they thought they were going to get. And that's going to be super important for the remaining 4 years of that 5-year trajectory, that they need that year to do sales. Try to sell your own product. That way, when you're building your team and you are expanding and you are getting business, you still have that first year of reality to be able to see just how complicated it is for a business to really scale. With that kind of reality check, I think companies that have practiced that definitely will be able to go the distance and stand the test of time.
Again, there's this, you've got to follow your gut feel. You've got to follow what you feel is right. But it is so easy to get wrapped up in your own hype. And like you say, believe that everybody is as passionate as you about your product or service. Even within your own business as well. Many leaders make the mistake that all of their staff should be as enthusiastic as they are, and I think it's, I think it might be Gary Vaynerchuk or someone who says, they're not on the same salary as you. So why would they be as passionate as you are? If you want them to be as passionate, put them in a similar position that you're in, but equally, like you're saying, absolutely, get it on the ground and having those direct conversations and actually understanding, understanding the conversations and the challenges that people are throwing back at you.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've asked, prospects what their sales cycle is, and they say a number. And I said, okay, great. Well, tell me the source of these deals. Oh, well, it was somebody I worked with before, or, oh, somebody I had dinner with, or, oh, this is the cousin of a friend of mine, or I'm part of this group and then they sent me a referral. Well, that's not quite sales. That's referral, that's network, that's channel maybe. But have you called someone? who had no idea who you were on Monday, and the following Monday, you're doing negotiation of terms with an invoice. And do that 1,000 times. Then you'll know how to go the remaining 4 years. Get told no 5,000 times. It doesn't hurt as much, right? Mm-hmm. You're still passionate about your product. You still believe. That shouldn't rattle your belief, but it puts in perspective just how your business needs to be run, what expectations to put on your staff, what expectations to put on your marketing, sales, etc. It's not because you believe that, people don't like your product. It's that you know what it takes to get people to actually take it seriously because you've had to do it yourself. So the main answer to your question in terms of, how can businesses sustain and survive those 5 years? I'm biased. I'm a sales guy. Sell it yourself in the beginning and just take note on what's going on. At least you can see and you'll know the truth. And that truth, honestly, will allow you to know how to navigate those 5 years.
It's a reality check.
Yeah.
And so what is the big picture for the business? What's the kind of ultimate goal and ultimate vision?
Well, there's two things. For Konsyg, considering that we are a service business, we kind of sit in the shadows where not a lot of people know all the wins that we've had. I mean, we don't advertise our clientele on purpose because some of our clientele we can't advertise. A lot of big names use us privately. A lot of governments use us. A lot of startups use us. So we don't really advertise that. So our position is more along the lines of dealing with very intricate projects, not just companies, because we might deal with 4 different projects in a large enterprise globally, right? Covering, one place is covering Vietnam, but then the same company, we're dealing with something in Lithuania, et cetera. So it depends on what type of revenue we're being attached to. But our vision is to work with AI a little bit in terms of leveraging. There is a really troubling thing in the market where I think people are starting to think that AI is going to replace sales. That's going to be very difficult. I know there's tons of tools that are going to probably lean us to be there. But if you look at that, you're selling to a human being that has to make a decision. It's going to be very difficult for AI to do that, even if they're saying all the right things, right? So we do believe in leveraging AI, though, a little bit more in the next few years to be able to kind of fine tune things like market analysis. I think that's one of the advantages for us. So we're definitely going more into the data piece of things and being a little bit more refined in terms of the trends and stuff like that. But all in all, our bread and butter business is going to stay true and loyal to the matter of sales, which is definitely human centric. But we're probably going to put a battery in our back a bit more with AI.
The analytical side and data side of using AI, I think absolutely that's where it's at. I just over and over again, I see the creative side failing. And you can get better results by putting better information in, asking better questions, giving better direction, but ultimately it's just not got that human level of creativity and out of the box thinking and and I just don't see it coming. I see the developments. I see it getting better and better. Every version of ChatGPT does get better, but I can't see a way that it could think like a human. Ultimately, I just don't see it.
It can mimic how billions of humans have thought, but I don't think it can do the one unique human thing, which is the creation, the actual, that moment, it's not doing that. Right. And maybe, it can mimic it really well. And I'm sure that, as technology is moving, I'm seeing AI produce some really amazing things, but I think people need to see it more as leverage and not replacements. but we're always looking for the easy way out. Crypto was the easy way to get rich, right? 3-4 years ago, that was like all the craze. Like, you're going to be a millionaire, billionaire automatically. Anybody who has any kind of crypto, just buy one Bitcoin and
get those investments in NFTs going. Yeah.
Every bit of conversation was crypto 4 years ago. It's here to stay and all that. We're barely seeing blog entries about it anymore. Right? It's still there. It's still a powerful thing, but the hype of it is not as big as it was. And I think the hype of AI, although very impressive, I think it hasn't really fit. We haven't put it into its proper place in terms of what it means for our society. Now we know what crypto means for our society. Now we're learning where AI could fit into our society as a tool, and that's what it's going to be, as a tool.
You touched on it, just the difference between AI and humans for me is that AI is made up of information and learnings from billions of people. It's an average of all the information that it learns. Whereas humans, there's a level of that, but every human is individual. We have cultural influences. We have things that we learn. We've got the school system that teaches us certain things. We have that data, but every single human being is individual. And that's the difference, is that you'll never create that individual AI or robot or whatever. It will always be a balance or an amalgamation of the data that's been fed to it.
Which means it struggles to inspire others. And that's the ultimate uniqueness of humans. You can have a DJ spin some songs in a certain way that can inspire you at a concert. You can have a violinist change a certain way of playing a particular, composed piece in a way that fits this point, that inspires people, and it's a communication. You can have somebody give a speech that incites a passion. You can have a salesperson that is talking about a particular product in a manner that is really customized to the nuances of the person, the conversation, the tone, the pace. And there's so many things in a sell, right? That inspire element is definitely not something that an AI is going to really be able to do. And I think it's going to take some time for us to realize that, but that's effectively the answer.
So how do you market the business currently? What do you find is working well on a marketing side, and what do you find is more of a challenge?
Well, I think in terms of us delivering, I think that one of the biggest challenges kind of goes into the original point when we were talking in the beginning. And I'll just focus on the challenges. I mean, I think what we do. And, I can talk about all the trophies that we have on walls and how amazing we are, and how many projects and how much revenue we've given to clients and all that stuff. And that's just a commercial, right? I think in terms of challenges, it's been getting into the minds of individuals that how sales works. I think sales pipeline is not something that's ever really been understood in terms of the average person, the average founder or C-level person, the concept of market response. So expectations are the biggest challenge in our business. Expectations change, expectations mold and warp. And when you see, let's say, these blogs, or you see these, articles about these companies suddenly getting X number of investment, or they have a website that looks like they have all these big trophies and awards, everybody's thinking that it's going to be so simple, and all they need to do are these particular things, and then deals will come. The market will respond. 100% of these things happen. And the challenge for us is explaining to the market that that's not how it is. Where you have other firms that are willing to just tell them that because it's something that they like to hear, and then effectively underdeliver. And then now our entire industry has been tainted by that one firm that wanted to get somebody on their books and tell them whatever they wanted to hear. Didn't work out. Now that person doesn't want to deal with anybody, right? That's been a challenge, that the market is definitely getting spoiled by kind of sweet talk and like, yeah, sure, you're going to get this amount of revenue in 2 weeks, and kind of like these, in America, we call them infomercials, a ton of infomercials, right? Which are these too good to be true outcomes. So the market's spoiled with it now. It's completely tainted. And we've been trying to navigate that and really try to put some reality and some honesty back into the business. And outsourcing is not necessarily a bad thing. Being a firm that's trying to generate revenue, that could actually really be our goal, not just to collect a check. We actually do want to help you win. We're trying to bring a little bit more of that back into the market.
There's definitely, it touches again back on what you were saying about making people understand and care about what you do, or realize it is something that they should care about for their business, the service that you provide, and something that they should be doing or should be working with someone on, and the big focus as well, I've found as we've grown our business, is the size of the pipeline, the amount of people that you have, that you're talking to at any one time, because you're only going to convert a fraction of those to sales. So you have to be talking to people at scale. And like you say, when you're kind of hands on yourself or you're a small team, that's a difficult thing to do.
Absolutely. I mean, there is no one call close or 1 or 2 email meeting, right? I mean, there's always waves of scale to be able to make things happen. And that understanding and that knowledge is definitely being overlooked by large amounts of too good to be true scenarios, actually.
Mm-hmm. And so what would be the one piece of advice that you would give to another business owner or someone in your position, based on all your experience and obviously the journey you've been on?
Oh man, I'm really going to sound so biased. It goes back to sales, right? The first one is definitely sell the product yourself at some point for a prolonged period of time. Do 4 quarters, right? That is definitely at least one. And then 2, make sure that you're hiring individuals that, particularly middle management, look out for the middle management that you're bringing on, and whether or not you're getting the real story, whether or not, you probably want to hire people to give you a little bit more pushback, that actually aren't as sold on this, that aren't necessarily very gung-ho about where things need to be. You're probably better off, because that person's probably going to balance the scales a bit. So the whole drinking the Kool-Aid thing, even though we disguise that as company culture, right? Oh, company culture, you got to be with the company culture, which is the indirect saying of, are you drinking the Kool-Aid or are you not, kind of thing. I would be the non-Kool-Aid type person, where people need to really subscribe to your idea and mission over the company itself. And then from there, give yourself some goals based on how the market has responded to you, not the goals that you want to have. You're never going to get what you want, but you're going to get what's there. But in order for you to know what's there, you need to go out there and try to see what's there. And then you're able to get a little bit of clarity. So yes, a hands-on kind of ground approach is the best way to be able to navigate the years and to be able to have a little bit more comfort with how things need to be.
I think just to build on what you said about, middle management, I think there's also a case of, you ultimately want to be getting people that are better than you in ways, that are going to be able to challenge you and make, you hire people to make the business better, don't you? And we're very conscious in our business that it isn't just about, growing our capacity or expanding our bandwidth. It's about making us better constantly as well. To the point where, I will drive the marketing strategy for Playfair, but ultimately the team are going to realize that the actual content better than I do. Because they're younger, they're fresher, they're more into that, they're more in touch with it, they're doing it every day. It makes sense to go, you know what, I'm not the person that's going to be pulling all this together and finessing it and everything, because there's a tipping point where you go, well, one, I don't have the capacity, but two, my position is different now, and it's more driving a strategy. It's more driving a content plan, or meeting to a particular vision or purpose. Ultimately, how it's done, I might not do it that way, but it's as long as it's right and good and better. They're the people that you want, and also you want those people to be able to challenge you. To say, manager is what I always say to them. Feedback Absolutely. To me and say to me, no, yeah, I know, but we used to do that 10 years ago. I get what you're saying, and I agree with the
Hello,
plan.
1995.
But they're not called tweets anymore. Right. Well, this has been a really great conversation, William. Thank you so much for joining us. Really enjoyed it, and I wish you all the best in the future growth.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Thank you for watching and listening to Content in Business. Please rate this podcast, hit subscribe, and follow Si McMahon on social media to keep up with future episodes. The Content in Business podcast is produced by Playfair, helping you with high-performing social activity every single day. Want to boost your brand awareness, sales, and leads? Partner with Playfair. Find out more and book a call at playfairmarketing.com.